You can either take the guest room or leave, my mom stated calmly, her gaze darting between my sister and me, as if this were a perfectly reasonable decision. My sister had shown up out of the blue with her husband, suitcases in tow, acting as if she owned the place. "It'd be great if you could be out by the weekend," she added, her cheerful grin slicing deeper than any insult. I didn't argue. I simply packed my belongings and left, fighting back tears. Yet, just a few days later, that smug grin was nowhere to be found. I watched as her complexion faltered, panic replacing the confidence she once displayed. She turned to Mom, her voice escalating with desperation. "She's lying. Mom, please tell me she's lying. My name is Rose. I'm 30 years old. For the last 5 years, I've lived with my mother in the house my father renovated right before his untimely death. Dad passed unexpectedly due to heart failure, and the house wasn't even fully decorated yet. One week, we were selecting kitchen tiles together, and the next, I was sitting beside my mom as she stared vacantly at the wall, struggling to get out of bed. We held the funeral on a gloomy Friday. Hazel, my younger sister, flew in sporting designer sunglasses and a silk scarf, sobbed dramatically, and left by Sunday morning. I stayed. I remained because someone had to, because Mom was fragile, because the mortgage wasn't fully settled, and someone had to manage the payments. And I hate to confess it, but I felt a sense of duty. I owed that much to my dad. He adored Mom. No matter how much she belittled him or snapped at him over trivial matters, he never raised his voice. "She just needs more grace," he would say. "You girls take care of her." So, I did. I sacrificed a promotion that would have sent me to Seattle. I rejected company housing, even though it offered reduced rent and only a 15-minute commute. I stayed. And for what? To be constantly reminded that I wasn't Hazel. Hazel, the golden child. Hazel with her shiny hair, radiant smile, and Instagram-perfect life. Hazel, who left home at 22 to marry a man named Brent, whose only discernible talent was looking sharp in a blazer. She was the star of all family gatherings. Meanwhile, I was merely background noise. "You should wear more vibrant colors, Rose," Mom would say. "Hazel always brightens up a room. You look like you're dressing for jury duty. Or, why don't you try dating again? It's not too late. Even for someone like you. Even for someone like me." I clenched my jaw and paid the bills, cleared the gutters, prepared the meals. I thought that if I just kept showing up, maybe, just maybe she'd notice me. Eventually, I would be enough. But everything shifted. One Thursday, I returned home late from work due to a shipping delay and walked into a scene that felt all too familiar. Hazel was curled up on the living room couch, tissues clutched in her lap. Brent sat beside her, scrolling through his phone as if he wished he were anywhere else. Mom hovered with a tray of tea and shortbread cookies, treating them like royalty. "Rose!" Mom exclaimed as if I were just a neighbor paying a visit. "Guess who's back?" "I can see that," I replied. "What's happening?" Hazel sniffled. Brent lost his job. The company downsized and eliminated his entire department. Brent kept his head down. "We're behind on rent," Hazel continued. "Our landlord gave us 2 weeks to move out. And we don't have anywhere to go," Mom interjected quickly, wrapping her arm around Hazel. "So, they're moving in." "Wait, what?" "They need help, Rose. They're family." "So am I," I said slowly. I live here. You'll figure it out, Mom said. You're good at that. I looked at Hazel, who gave a tiny shrug and mouthed, sorry, although the smirk at the corner of her lip suggested otherwise. Later that evening, I pulled Mom aside. This house is barely large enough for 2 adults, let alone 4, I said. Where will they sleep? In your room, she replied flatly. I froze. What? You can take the guest room or move out. It's your choice. You're serious? I'm not discussing it. I always wanted Hazel here. She belongs in this house. I've been paying the mortgage. Mom shrugged. It's in my name. And you've always acted like you were doing me this huge favor. I never asked you to because you were a wreck after Dad died. And now I have Hazel. I don't need you. That hit like a slap. The next morning, Hazel knocked at my door, her voice upbeat and lacking any hint of regret. Hey, Mom says if you could be out by Saturday, that'd be fantastic. Brent and I kind of need this space. Excuse me? She leaned against the frame, her eyes sparkling. Come on, you've been living like a loner. This could be a fresh start for you. I slammed the door in her face. Inside, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the floor. On the bookshelf sat a manila folder I hadn't touched in months. It was from HR, containing the offer for company housing I had declined when I thought Mom needed me. My hand trembled slightly as I opened it. Studio apartment, spotless, secure, just a short commute to work. Move-in gift. No noise, no guilt. And definitely no Hazel. I took the leap. By Friday afternoon, I had submitted my transfer request, obtained a key, and arranged for movers. I packed quietly, alone. No one offered their assistance or inquired about my departure. They were too preoccupied with plans for a welcome-back barbecue. Hazel was intent on repainting the kitchen, while Brent suggested swapping the couch for a larger sectional. Saturday morning arrived, ushered in by a warm breeze that swayed the blinds. I stood in the driveway clad in jeans and a t-shirt, hair pulled back in a ponytail, clipboard in hand as the moving truck arrived. The movers stepped out, taken aback by the piles of boxes already accumulating by the porch. Ready for the big move? One of them grinned. Absolutely, I responded, letting out a deep breath. Let's dive in. We loaded everything, my bed, bookshelves, coffee maker, desk, and dishes. I relished the process. Each box felt like shedding weight, growing stronger, embracing freedom. By the afternoon, we were wrapping up. A mover paused at the doorway, surveying the vacant space, eyebrows raised. You're really taking it all? He asked. With a smile that conveyed calmness and confidence, I replied, yes, indeed. Everything. When the truck finally rolled away, my former home appeared desolate. No television, no coffee table, no dining chairs, just ghostly outlines of my furniture left behind in the dust. Every item I had bought with my hard-earned money was now with me, personally delivered and assembled through my own efforts. So yes, I took it all. Later that afternoon, when I returned the keys to the staff housing office, disbelief washed over me. My new studio apartment was cozy yet illuminating, peaceful and pristine. The fridge didn't emit eerie noises. The water pressure was just right. No more scrambling for bathroom time. I plopped down on the mattress and exhaled as if for the first time in ages. That night, my phone buzzed relentlessly with missed calls, voicemails, and messages from Mom, followed by Hazel and then Brent. Most were filled with frustration, a few expressed confusion, but I tuned them out. I powered down my phone, brewed tea, and savored the twinkling city lights from my petite balcony. By Monday, they had shown up at my workplace. The front desk notified me, Rose, your mom and sister are here. I almost chuckled. I hadn't even shared my address with them. I lingered in the loading bay until they finally left, determined to deny them a confrontation on my turf. Later that evening, I decided to swing by the former house, anticipating their presence, and I was right. The porch light illuminated, but the living room remained dim. I knocked once and let myself in with the spare key I hadn't yet returned. Mom and Hazel stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, their expressions stormy. Mom wasted no time. "What on earth did you do? What are you referring to?" I replied, remaining composed. "You emptied the place. There's nothing left. No fridge, no table, not even the toaster." "That was mine," I asserted. "I purchased it, just like everything else here." Hazel stepped forward, brow knotted. "You can't just take things without permission." "I didn't. You assumed it belonged to you, but that doesn't make it correct. We didn't expect you to take literally everything." Mom snapped. I opened my palms wide. "What precisely were you anticipating?" "The house feels empty now, like a shell," Hazel remarked softly. "Oh, I apologize," I shot back. "Is the house I financed not cozy enough without my belongings?" Joss glared. "What happened to the bank account?" I blinked. "What?" "The joint account. Remember Dad's insurance money was deposited there? I checked yesterday, it was empty." I exhaled softly, realizing where this conversation was headed. That money disappeared a long time ago. I've been covering the mortgage all by myself for the last 4 years. Hazel was frozen. "No way, it was over 40,000. That wasn't insurance money." I clarified. "That was me, saving parts of my paycheck. I used it to cover the mortgage and bills." "No way." Hazel muttered, tilting her head. "Why does it matter? You're not on the deed. This isn't your house." Mom's demeanor shifted from surprise to panic. Hazel pivoted sharply towards her. "Is she lying?" Mom remained silent. "Mom, tell me she's lying." Hazel pressed. "We'll discuss this later." Mom finally said, avoiding eye contact. Joss's fists clenched tightly. "You told me the insurance payout was safe and that we'd be okay if we returned, that we could use it to regain our footing." I looked between them, stunned. "You came back for money?" Hazel turned on me, all pretense dropped. "You really think we moved back for some family reunion? Brent and I are struggling financially. He lost his job 2 months ago. We've been maxing out credit cards. Do you think I wanted to crawl back into my childhood bed?" Mom attempted to intervene. "She didn't mean it like, yes, I did." Hazel screamed. "I meant every word. I wouldn't be here if you hadn't assured me there was money." Mom's face went pale. "And you?" Hazel growled as she pointed an accusatory finger at me. "She took everything from that house, leaving us with nothing but empty promises." I crossed my arms defiantly. "No, what I left you was exactly what you gave me, nothing at all. Joss's lips quivered as she spoke. The insurance payout was meant to be shared. You mean the funds you assumed you'd inherit? I replied, coolly. The money you never contributed to, or paid into. We wouldn't be in this predicament if you hadn't stripped the house bare. We wouldn't be in this mess had you not staked everything on a fantasy. Hazel swung back to Mom, her eyes wide with fury. You said it was still there. Mom's voice was barely a whisper. I thought we could sort it out later. Later. That's all you ever say, later, soon, eventually. You asked me to come home, saying we'd be all right. Because I missed you, Mom murmured. No, you missed having someone to lean on, someone to make you feel valued. You never cared about my needs. I watched them unravel, each tearing into the other. Hazel was pacing, and Mom was stammering. They were both hitting the realization at the same moment. There was no plan here, just a fantasy. Brent hadn't returned since their argument the day before. Hazel had maxed out her third credit card. Mom had no savings. The mortgage still had 6 years to go, and the only person who was paying it, me, was absent. Suddenly, Joss's voice dropped to a chilling, desperate whisper. You said we could use that money to begin anew. There is no money, I stated flatly. And there hasn't been for years. Joss's face collapsed, looking like a child who just discovered Santa Claus wasn't real. What about the file folder? She whispered. Dad's paperwork is gone. Mom spent the bulk of it on renovations, first the bathroom, then the kitchen. Then, she splurged on that used Lexus for your wedding. That was from her savings. I shook my head. No, that came from his insurance. I kept the receipts. Hazel turned to Mom. Tell me that's not true. Silence filled the room. Just tell me. Mom's gaze fell to the ground. I didn't want to cause you worry. Hazel emitted a strangled sound and stormed into the hallway. I stood there, witnessing the destruction unfold. Mom looked at me with tear-filled eyes. Please, Rose. Help us. Why would I? Because you're the only one who can set things right. You called me a parasite. You told me to leave. Remember? I was upset. I didn't mean it. Yes, you did, I replied. And now you're precisely where you placed yourself. Hazel returned, holding a torn envelope, announcing it was empty, her tone filled with bitterness. There's nothing. Not even old bills. I know, I replied. I checked years ago. Mom sank down at the kitchen table, covering her face with her hands. I glanced at both of them. They had ejected me, hoping for comfort, support, and funds. Instead, they received an empty house, a mountain of debt, and no one but themselves to hold accountable. Even now, they still had no clarity. They still believed I would mend this. They still thought I owed them something. They were mistaken. Hazel stood in the hallway, clutching the empty folder as if it had deceived her. Mom remained at the kitchen table, color drained from her face, fingers intertwined and breaths shallow. I could sense that she was trying to comprehend how she had lost the grip on everything, on the house, on both daughters, and most significantly, on me. I don't understand, Mom finally whispered. What are we supposed to do now? I didn't respond. I mean the mortgage, she persisted, desperation seeping into her voice. The bills, the food. We don't even have a blender or a microwave anymore. That was mine, I replied. Everything was mine. You could have left something. You've left me with nothing. Just memories that constantly remind me I was second best. Just years filled with pretending I didn't hear you label me as dull, plain, or a burden. Hazel turned on her. And you said there'd be money. You told us Dad left enough for a fresh start, that we could clear the credit cards. You lied to us. I added. But I stopped believing you a long time ago. Mom opened and closed her mouth, unable to utter a word. I took a deep breath and reached into my tote, pulling out a white envelope and placing it on the counter. What's this? Hazel asked wearily. My last mortgage receipt. The loan is still in your name, Mom. You'll have to cover it now. 6 more years of fixed payments. Not too harsh unless you're unemployed and broke. I guess you can't expect us to handle this, Hazel snapped. I expect nothing. I've stopped expecting. I merely wanted to present you with the facts. Since pretending hasn't worked out well, Hazel grit her teeth. You're heartless. I faced her. You returned for money, Hazel. Not for Mom. Not for love. Not even out of desperation. You were banking on a lie and exploiting others to cover your losses. Don't act as if this is about family. Oh, and you're a saint for abandoning your mother after everything she's endured. She shot back. No, I replied. I was there for years. I supported her. I covered her mortgage, food, fuel, medical expenses, insurance, and even some renovations. I sacrificed my 20s for her, only to be tossed aside the moment you resurfaced. So, no, I didn't abandon her. She chose you over me. Mom flinched at my words. Hazel looked shaken, though she quickly masked it with rage. I can't believe you can just walk away, she snapped. I let out a dry chuckle. You should feel lucky. I could have drained the savings account before I left, but unlike you two, I still possess a shred of decency. You're cruel, Mom whispered. No, I'm free, I replied, turning toward the door behind me. Hazel shot back, good. We don't need you. I'll manage. Brent's in talks with someone about a job. I'm sure he is, I replied without looking back, but breaking into the gambling world isn't easy. Hazel muttered something under her breath. Pausing at the door, my hand on the knob, I said, take care of each other. You wanted her, Mom, so now live with your choice. And with that, I stepped out. The door closed behind me, making a sound that felt suffocatingly symbolic, as if years of pain and pressure had just sealed away for good. It's been 4 weeks since that moment, and I haven't had any direct contact with them. However, a former neighbor informed me that their house was put on the market. It apparently lingered there for 2 weeks before they accepted a low offer. Last I heard, they moved into a tiny 1-bedroom apartment elsewhere in town. Hazel is working part-time at a bakery, while Mom is reportedly doing admin work at a dentist's office. Brent didn't land that job after all. I'd be dishonest if I claimed that it didn't bring a bit of satisfaction, but truthfully, it feels more like peace. My new apartment, while still modest, is undeniably mine. The mismatched furniture is cozy, and I prepare whatever meals I desire, watch whatever shows I like, and sleep soundly without disrupted nights filled with slammed cabinets or hushed insults through the walls. Last week, my manager offered me a lead position, and I happily accepted. This morning, I popped into a cafe I previously avoided because Mom dubbed it pretentious. I took a book along and savored my cappuccino in tranquility, smiling for no particular reason. Then it hit me, they booted me out thinking I was replaceable, just a placeholder, or even a freeloader. But ultimately, I was the glue that held everything in place. Now they have each other, and I possess everything else: freedom, solitude, stability, and, at long last, the life I envisioned.